are being buried. Their funerals are taking place.
Right.
Which means that their parents, their grandparents, their other relatives are going to attend whatever is happening at their funeral.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do as a parent? Do you let your kid pay tribute to their classmates by attending all these funerals? It's going to be publicized. It's going to be on TV. How do you protect their mental health?
Well, I would be concerned about knowing which of my children wanted to attend funerals, because some of them might not want to attend.
Right.
So I don't have to encourage them to attend if they don't want to, or they don't feel that it's something they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. So we have to make a determination as to what's going on with our children, grandchildren, before we push them into a situation. Because I know that not all the parents of these 10-year-olds have been shown on TV.
No.
The 10-year-olds their pictures have been shown, and the two teachers' pictures have been shown.
So I'm glad you brought up the teachers. So we're worried about the mental health of the students and stuff, as we should be, but let's talk about the mental health of some of these school officials, these teachers, principals, and guidance counselors, any adults that now have to deal with, worry about going to work and being able to come home to their children.
Exactly.
How do you, when in a time where it's tough finding teachers now anyway, where do you think the mental health of some of these adults are going? The teachers, whether or not they want to go to work or not now.
Well, I'm sure that some of them feel that if they're responsible for the lives of their children in their classroom, that's critically important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they may decide that they don't want to teach anymore. That could happen.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that could happen is there has been some conversation that there was some suggestion from someone that some of the teachers be given a gun so that they have a gun in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's appropriate.
No, I think the teachers should be able to focus on teaching their students and stuff like that, and not have to worry about defending them if they
right, because oftentimes when there's a fire drill, for example, the teachers make sure that everyone in the class leaves the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they manage the system, and that's what they would be doing, and not having anything to do with having a weapon.
Mm-hmm. I remember going to school and having fire drills and stuff, and even just a fire drill would, create some type of anxiety in me to where I really couldn't focus once the fire drill was over.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't imagine, in today's society, going through what these kids are going through in school and having to be able to focus on learning. Especially when they now have to worry about not only fire drills, but live shooting drills. I don't know.
Yes, that was part of the training in the Uvalde school.
Right.
Where they did have that training. I think it was last week or the week before. But then when it actually happened, they didn't use the training that they had provided their people.
Right. When you train once every few months, it's not like where you're training and you're doing it again and again and again, so it's muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
You train once every few months or something, if that, maybe once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when it actually happens, you're not thinking about the training because you didn't train hard enough. And that's something, I don't. that's something a student really shouldn't have to worry about. And
Right.
the only way that I think they're going to feel safe if the elected officials do what they can to protect these kids in these schools, and and give them the money to do what they need to do to make the school safe.
Mm-hmm. I know. Everybody has got to feel safe in the same space they've been going to on a regular basis, where they felt safe last week or yesterday. And now they're going to be raising questions in their minds. Are they going to be safe tomorrow? I also am curious about whether or not anyone has written in with questions for us.
I don't see any questions written up, but I did want to say, if you're an adult and you've talked to your kids about what's going on in these schools, have your kids, ask you questions about it? We're a live interactive broadcast, so feel free to call in and let us know, weigh in, and give us your thoughts. You can call in at 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685. If you're a teacher, a student that just happened not to be in school today, or just a concerned neighbor, call in, let us know, have this conversation with us.
Absolutely, because we're having a casual conversation about the reality of what's going on around us, even though Texas is hundreds of miles away. There was something that happened in New York. There was something that happened in Connecticut at one time, where many children were killed. There's a lot going on all around us, so we need to know what we need to know, and we also need to know that if we have a question, that there's someone available to us to ask that question.
Speaking of the Buffalo shooting, I remember hearing something about the shooter on there saying that he had to preserve the white race.
Yes.
Do you know how old that person was?
He was 18.
So, that mentality, those thoughts don't just pop into an 18-year-old's head. He has to have learned something from that.
He did, and apparently what I heard was that he had written several hundred pages of documentation related to how he felt about all of that. So I would assume that his parents or his grandmother or somebody would have known what he was doing.
Yeah, so he left behind a whole manifesto of what, So, yeah. So I'm sure there's more that's going to come out on that as well.
Yes, this one, because he's alive and he's in jail right now. And they're watching him. They're trying to keep him safe. There will be some conversation from him once this case goes to court. So that'll be different. We're going to hear something.
27 school shootings and 200 mass shootings. And a mass shooting, by definition, which isn't really solid, is a violent act with a gun killing 4 or more people. And that's what's considered a mass shooting. So 200 mass shootings and 27 school shootings. It's just, when does it end?
No, it doesn't end because, as I said, it was in different states under different circumstances where students were killed or somebody else was killed. And we can't just say, oh, that happened in Texas, we don't have to worry about it. Because something happened, I think 10 years ago in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And that was serious. That was very serious.
But
So,
these shooters are starting to become younger, like 18 years old. That's, I mean, this is just unfathomable. It's just.
I know it. And actually, and at that age, to be able to buy a rifle. I mean, you can't buy alcohol, but you can buy a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that say?
And who's to say that just buying them from a store, they could be getting them from friends or you know.
Or they could find them in their families.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their family might have them located in their barn, in their garage, in their car, someplace, and they might be able to put their hands on it and do something with it that's negative, that they should not do with it.
Right. And like I said, the reach has been wide. This past week, watching the NBA playoffs and stuff like that, and listening to some of the coaches, I was really impressed with this coach of Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors, who during one of his interviews refused to talk about the playoffs when a shooting just happened. And you can see the hurt and hear the hurt in his voice. And I'd like to play a short clip, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Just of his response. Let me see if I can get this to come up. Okay, and this is Steve Kerr, coach of the Golden State Warriors.
We've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed.
As about the law.
Southern California, and now we have
Let me turn this.
children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm sorry. I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like. It's what we do every week. So I'm fed up. I've had enough. We're going to play the game tonight, but I want every person here, every person listening to this, to think about your own child or grandchild or mother or father or sister, brother. How would you feel if this happened to you today? We can't get numb to this. We can't sit here and just read about it and go, well, let's have a moment of silence. Yeah, go Dubs, you know. Come on, Mavs, let's go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go play a basketball game. And 50 senators in Washington are going to hold us hostage. Do you realize that 90% of Americans, regardless of political party, want background check, universal background check? 90% of us. We are being held hostage by 50 senators in Washington who refuse to even put it to a vote, despite what we, the American people, want. They won't vote on it because they want to hold on to their own power. It's pathetic. I've had enough.
Wow.
Yes, that was a painful reality. I saw that on TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it wasn't just him. A lot of the celebrities know that they have a say, and they're all out there, in support and just really fed up, what's the sense of, going out there and doing what you love to do and getting paid a lot of money to do it when other people are being killed and stuff like that. It makes it hard for them to really want to go out there and, do a concert, play basketball and stuff when families are hurting. And that was very heartfelt. And again, like I said, a lot of...
Absolutely. Because I saw him, he put his fist on the desk. Yeah. And, there was just so much going on with him. It was his reality.
Yeah.
We're talking mental health here. It was his reality. And he shared that with all of us. Everyone that was watching that broadcast and was looking for the information about the football game ended up watching him talk about his pain and his challenge about what we can really do instead of just saying, oh, well, it's not me.
Mm-hmm. And he talked about the power that these guys want to hold on to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these senators are NRA members, and mm-hmm. they have ratings of either A or A+. And if you go to the New York Times and look up senators who oppose the gun control, it'll bring up a listing of who oppose or leaning no, who declined to answer or deflect. And under that, it brings up their NRA rating, and career NRA funding. How much has the NRA funded their campaigns? And we're talking anywhere from thousands to millions.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Look at, and most of them are from, North Dakota. We have Mississippi, Oklahoma. A lot of the, pro-gun states. And then some of their comments of why they're opposing or declining to answer. So it goes state by state, mostly Republican senators. And, Mitch McConnell received a career to date from the NRA, $1.3 million. So, he's not going to vote for anything that's going to hurt the NRA because he'll lose that money.
Right.
So, you can go on and check out what your own senators are leaning towards and put the pressure on them. If you're in Texas and you want to see gun control, find out what the Texas senators are receiving from the NRA and why they won't vote for gun control. And, again, it's just a part of the answer. I don't think it's the whole solution. What do you think?
Exactly. No, I'm in agreement with you, my brother, because there's definitely so much that we do not know. We've heard a little piece here, a little piece there, and we don't really know what it all means. And we don't know how to make the correction happen if we end up hearing that it's related to a money-making organization or a political organization. That's not fair.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the senators' arguments is that background checks wouldn't have stopped a lot of the stuff that go on. And I kind of agree with that because a lot of the people who have committed the latest shootings had no background. They didn't have any criminal record.
Right.
So that would have stopped it. But there are other aspects of the gun control bill that would. I really think they need to expand on the mental health. And again, we said earlier in the broadcast that if the people are not in the system for having mental health issues, that's a moot point as well. It's almost as if, like I said, if a person doesn't have a background, nothing's going to come up. So it's not going to stop the person from buying the gun. So if the person hasn't gone through any professional mental health issue, they're not going to show up in the system either, which isn't going to prevent them from buying the gun.
Right, exactly. Or someone might ask their buddy to get the gun for them, and maybe their buddy doesn't know how they're going to use it.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many unknown issues that we do not know about.
Let's say that scenario is the case, and someone goes out and buys a gun or a high-power rifle for someone, and that person goes out and does the unthinkable and does a mass shooting. Do you hold the person that bought him the gun responsible as well?
Oh, well, I think someone might want to have something to say about that.
I say yes, because if you're a gun holder, you know the laws, you know the rules, and again, if you own a gun, you have the right to sell it to whoever you want as long as they're of age.
I know it, and if you used your name in order to buy something for somebody else, you need to know that you've extended your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
So if you're I'm not going to say gun lover, but a person who, recreational shooting and stuff and wants to keep a hold of your Second Amendment right, what do you say? Should a person be responsible for selling a gun to a person, not through a store or a gun shop, but personally to a person who commits a mass shooting?
Yeah, no, I would question that, but I would personally question that, but I do know that there are a lot of states that you mentioned where people buy rifles to go hunting. And that's not unusual.
It's actually making me upset that I'm reading the New York Times site. I told you they can see what senators are. I'm actually still on that, and I'm reading some of these reasonings, and it's kind of making me upset. Like Joni Ernst from Iowa, she said she needed to better understand the circumstances of the shooting before backing any fix. So she'd rather have the shooting happen than determine why the shooting happens before she can make a decision on gun control.
I know, and the truth of the matter is that between now, even if the Democrats are able to convince the Republicans to join them, and they decide to vote together on something, there could still be a number of days that might go by that young people could still be buying the rifles. They could still be buying AR-15.
Mm-hmm. Here's what Ron Johnson, senator in Wisconsin, who received in his career $1.3 million from the NRA. Mr. Johnson's office said that the senator does not support HRH, which would criminalize common exchanges of firearms and strip away the rights of millions of people while doing nothing to reduce gun violence. Universal background checks wouldn't be universal. Almost 70% of prisoners who used a gun to commit crimes acquired firearms from the black market sources, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and that's what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's our reality, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you and I are saying to each other in a casual way, but in a truthful way that is a reality for those people who are listening to us this morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so, as I do more research in this, it's really, I don't know what the answer is. Gun control and background checks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When there's so many guns already on the street that are accessible.
Oh, there are many guns. There's more than thousands. There's a million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's lots of guns. So this is something that I say could happen if we decide to make a change legally for gun control.
Mm-hmm.
There could still be a period of time where somebody could say, aha, before I lose my right to buy this gun, I'm going to go buy one.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do it and get it.
Right.
And then what?
So, and then you have the people who, like, say, the older generation who were gun collectors, and let's say someone dies and the widow or widower wants to get rid of the guns, and a family member, says, I'll take those off your hands, and, and they don't do the due process of reporting that the guns are now in this person's hands, and they get lost. So they give them to a family member sells them off, and once that happens, they're lost. We don't have any record of where they're gone. We just know the serial numbers, and hopefully those serial numbers don't get filed off. And again, Pastor Wall talked about the ghost guns coming up with the 3D printers and stuff like that. So, you know what, the conversation needs to be broader, and more people need to be brought to this table to really come up with some, precise solutions.
And I also heard that the ghost guns were being made someplace in Dorchester.
Well, not just Dorchester. They found a place that was were being manufactured in Dorchester, but I'm sure every state has somewhere that some ghost guns are being made.
Yeah, exactly. So this is another problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's another problem. You and I started this broadcast talking about the purchase of AR-15s or rifles, or military weaponry or whatever.
There is no reason why a everyday civilian needs to have a weapon of that caliber.
Right. Right.
I mean, there's no reason. I don't care
It
where you live.
It doesn't need it for hunting either.
No. You're using something like that. You're creating a hamburger before the animal's even dead.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting a person with a high-power rifle or a animal with a high-power rifle.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no reason why an everyday civilian needs to have
takes
access to that.
Yeah. Exactly.
You want to experience the shooting of it? Yeah, go to a gun range, but leave it there. You don't need to purchase one.
Well, some of the gun clubs do have lockers that they allow the people who use the gun club to be able to store their weapons.
Right, but I'm talking about let the gun clubs purchase them, and it belongs to the gun club, not the person.
Well, that's another thought. Yes. Wow. There's so much that we've talked about, Brother Eric, this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering what people are thinking about what we've said and what people have decided they want to see happen based on what we have said.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually will happen. Because I know that lots of times when I have a broadcast, I don't hear from somebody because they don't want to call and interrupt what they might hear on the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
But they call me after the broadcast is over and ask a question, which I then answer.
Mm-hmm.
But what will we do if...
My suggestion, Sister Louise, when that happens, you find a way to write those questions and answers down and bring it back the next week so people, who may have had the same question will know that someone else asked it and this was...
Right, and typically when I repeat somebody's question, I don't use their name.
Right.
Because that's something that people are concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's we don't have to use someone's name and say, well, John Smith said this, or John Smith said that,
right,
or John Smith wants us to do this or that. That's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
The case is someone who was listening to the broadcast called and said that had this question, and we want to be able to answer it.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. I know. This is pretty important information. How am I doing for broadcast time?
We're doing great. We have about 7 minutes to go. And I also wanted to, before the broadcast ends, let your listeners know and viewers know about our online silent auction that we're having to raise money for the radio station. Let me see while I do this if I can bring up the website. But if you go on either one of our Facebook pages, you'll be able to see the auction site login. It's a link that you can go on there. And if you don't see anything on there that you personally would like to bid on, there is an option to just donate from there as well. We're really trying to get some new equipment here in the studio, and before we bring in the students over the summer for our Academy of Broadcasting, and part of the funds raised there will help us to operate that as well. So it's your opportunity now to sow into this, not only this program, but the radio station as a whole that allows this program to actually be broadcast on.
Well, I think that that's important, and I would definitely support what you just said. So if you want to repeat it and be more specific about what people can do, I say go ahead.
Okay. Let me just bring up the site so I can get the web link, which is actually pretty long, so it's not. So if you have a pen, get ready. Let me just bring it up. And we're using a online auction site called Charity Auctions Today. They are our auction site managers. And here is the site. It's www.charityauctions/auctions/BPR-TV fundraiser -3085. And that'll get you to the actual site where you would have to register as a bidder. That way they can, capture a payment method, and that way people can't just run up bids and with no intention on paying for it. But there's some great stuff on there, from jewelry, handmade copper jewelry from T. Michael Thomas. We have a really nice men's fur coat from Goose Country. We have some sports memorabilia from the Red Sox. Also, I know there's not many Eagle fans here in Massachusetts, but if you're an Eagles fan, Philadelphia Eagles have donated a bunch of signed memorabilia for the auction. We have some amazing gift certificates from Taste of Eden. From Hopa Bailey, she's donated some gift certificates. Our local bike shop, Ashmont Bicycle, has donated a gift certificate for a tune-up. We have a gift certificate from a boutique down in Nubian Square, who has donated a $50 gift certificate for some of her wares. So check it out. There's some amazing stuff in there. And like I said, if you don't see anything there, you can just hit the donate button and just in-kind donation. And help support the radio station keep running and expand.
Well, that sounds good to me. I'm so glad that you took the time to report that.
Yes.
Very, very good, Eric.
So, yeah. So, like I said, I enjoyed co-hosting with you as always, and again, sometimes when you have serious topics like that, people listen and they're at a loss for words, like so many of us. Unfortunately, we can't be at a loss of words because we're the ones reporting.
Exactly.
And so the listeners are at a loss for words. They need time to ingest what they just heard and think about where their stance is, and then by the time they do figure it out, the broadcast is over, and that's why they hit you.
I know, and as I said at the very beginning of the broadcast, mental health is in our neighborhood. It's yours or mine or people in the studio, or people in the church, or people at the school, or the company we work at. It's important for people to know that these things could impact us in some way.
Mm-hmm.
That's critically important. So mental health in your neighborhood works for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I want to thank you for co-hosting with me again today, and I know that you will do it again another time.
Absolutely.
Yes, this was very good. The topic was critically important, serious, and critically important.
And it's a topic that shouldn't end with this conversation as well. The conversation needs to continue. Like the coach said, we can't become numb to this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can't ignore it, and we can't say, oh, well, it doesn't apply to me, or it doesn't apply to us. We can't do that because it might apply to us.
Absolutely.
It might be critically important to us if we don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to pay attention and respect what we've heard being said.
And again, we have an election coming up. So if you're in a state where a senator doesn't want the gun control, it's your chance to vote them out. And we have 5 seconds left, so close it out for us.
Well, yes. Well, again, thank you, Brother Eric, for joining me. I will be back next week. Thank you all for listening. Give me a call. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thinking about suicide and